It's very clear to me that people who were in this particular cult are very kind-hearted. This destructive cult convinces parishioners that they are sacrificing their lives to save the world. For the past, let's say, 6 years, I've been obsessed with cults. I've been following YouTube channels that talk about cults. I've been slowly understanding the nuances of each individual cult, and I'm just addicted to everything cult-related. I think initially I started watching ex-cult members' content because in the past I've been kinda naive and held weird views about certain things because I was told those things and for one reason or another I absorbed them. For instance, I don't even remember who told me that evolution is a hoax, because Darwin was a Nazi sympathizer, but I absorbed it and held that belief with no scrutiny, like into my 30s, I'm pretty sure. I had almost no interaction about it with anybody on the daily basis, so it was really easy to almost not care if I'm right or not. It's actually through the atheist and ex-cult member spaces that I started being exposed to the facts of evolution. One of my favorite cults to follow is Scientology. Frankly, I don't know exactly why it's my favorite cult, but I have my suspicions. More on that at the end. First, a little background. For those who are unfamiliar, Scientology was created by a dude named L. Ron Hubbard. L stands for Lafayette. He was a science fiction writer. In the 1950s, he wrote a book named Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health, which later became the basis of this cult. Today, Scientology is known as a religion, but that's not where it started. This was supposed to be a technical guide on human psychology and how to reach a status of a perfect being. Since LRH was a petty officer in the US Navy during World War II, the Scientology's organization, called the Sea Org, resembles the military. In the past, they had Navy-like uniforms, and it's like a micro-society with its own strict rules, an internal justice system, and a unique language. The Sea Org provides its officers with food, water and shelter, and even gives them ranks. But the structure itself is kinda stupid. The procedures that all Sea Org members have to follow are counterproductive, dated, and accomplish absolutely nothing. It also runs a little like a business. A really bad business. Every post in the Sea Org has its own statistic, something they have to accomplish, and the statistic is tallied weekly and must improve from a previous week. Imagine if that was expected of us at work, always selling more, creating more, even if it's a holiday week. Even if there is no demand for what we are making, that would be silly. Anyway, LRH died at 1986 and David Miscavige took over, making himself chairman of the board, which is a made-up title. He also harassed the IRS to grant Scientology religious tax-exempt status, solidifying Scientology as a religion, at least in the eyes of everyone else who's not a Scientologist. Scientologists themselves still consider it to be a workable technology and not a religion. Many rights violations happen in this cult. I'll leave an excellent interview below if you want to know more. But for the purposes of this video, I am going to expand on the following. There are 3 types of Scientologists. Public, meaning they live in the real world and pay for religious services provided by local organizations, which are operated by staff members, who also live in the real world. But on top of working a normal job, they also work for free for Scientology in order to receive services also for free, sometimes. Let's not get too deep into that. And the third kind of a Scientologist is a Sea Org member, someone who was recruited to become the clergy per se. Outside of actual personal variation, the experiences of those 3 types of Scientologists are pretty pretty different. One thing all of them have in common is that they have restricted access to information. In case of a Sea Org member, the restriction is physical. They have no or limited access to the internet or the outside world. If they have phones or laptops, those are encrypted to block the descendants of Scientology. But most likely they have neither. But even if they did have access, they wouldn't go looking for anything contradicting their beliefs. And if they did that, they wouldn't believe it. Staff members and public Scientologists have it a little different. They don't have physical restrictions, they have mental ones. It's a self-indoctrinating cycle, but it's also encouraged by the cult itself. If they go online searching for anything, they then have to confess about it in a religious session, and that will cost them money. It might even lead to expulsion from Scientology, and that means that their family would disconnect from them. They might lose their job, their friends. Worse than that, what if the anti-Scientology information makes sense? They might have to change their minds, and that is also so scary. While being fascinated with cults, watching hundreds of hours of ex-cult members' content, and reading about it so much, I'm too often accused of being in a cult myself, which is a strange accusation to me. One of ways to immunize ourselves from joining a cult, or at least a destructive one, is by listening to and analyzing other cults. Furthermore, I spent a lot of time scrutinizing the arguments made for veganism, the characteristics of this group of people. I even went through the bite model one day, testing veganism, just to make sure. I can make a video about that. Let me know in the comments if you are interested to see that. Spoiler, it's not going to be 0 characteristics describing destructive cults. No group in existence can say they fit no characteristics of a cult. The conclusion I came to is that if I'm in a cult, all people I know also are. But I wanted to point out something specific today. The one thing that I find so objectionable in cults, the restriction of access to information, completely doesn't exist in veganism. In fact, the opposite is true. We seek information all the time, with some bias attached, for sure, but there is no restriction coming from the group. In fact, visual proof is out there. All we have to do is search. In my experience, some people will seek out and accept it, embracing the production footage as acceptable, but most people will avoid it, actively refusing to watch because it's scary. What if it's not something we would deem acceptable? What if we'll need to change our minds? What would our family and friends do if we change our minds? To be clear, I'm not making a claim that whoever is not vegan is therefore in a cult. This is just one aspect that doesn't apply to everybody in the group. I'm just making an observation as an outsider who was once in the group. I am an ex-meat eater. For most of my life, I had almost no interactions about it with anybody, so it was really easy to almost not care if I'm right to eat meat and other stuff or not. This would be a waste of a video if I didn't provide a search term for those who are willing to look. watchdominion.org is a start. The link is in the description. Before I go, I wanted to make one last observation. I think one of the main reasons that I like so much watching ex-Scientologists talking about their experiences is that it's very clear to me that people who were in this particular cult are very kind-hearted. This destructive cult convinces parishioners that they are sacrificing their lives to save the world. They are clearing the planet, they are told. And that's the only way to save everybody, they are told. I think their kindness was abused and corrupted in order to make them do pretty terrible things to each other and to their family members and others. But once these kind people leave the cult, their kindness and sincerity is so visible. I think this attracts other kind, sincere people who, when exposed to an injustice, want to do something about it. Thank you for watching. I hope this was interesting to some of you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching till the very end, and I'll see you next time.